What's happening, guys? It's Mike's Total Dragon channel, and I thought that I would take a look at showcase number 4. This is the first appearance of Barry Allen, the Flash, and this is what is widely known and recognized as the official start of the Silver Age of comic books. What I like to look at in these type of videos is how the character was originally presented, their powers, personality, characteristics, and how they are now, and how, see what the difference is, if any, if the character is basically the same as he is now, what type of modifications went on with him, that type of thing. So we have here, this is not the actual showcase number 4, obviously, although I do wish, one of my regrets as a comic book fan is I had an opportunity to purchase a showcase number 4. This is probably about 10 or 12 years ago for $5,000, and I did not have it on me, and that haunts me to this day. It's the one book that I don't have that I wish I did. So I kick myself for not picking that up, but that's life. Sometimes you don't have $5,000 laying around to buy a comic. But what they were doing, DC was doing at this time, was they were doing these reprints of First Appearances or landmark moments during the Silver Age. They were reprinting them fairly cheap. Like I said, this is $1 in Canada, $1.25. So this, let's see. I wonder when this came out. What does it say here? This came out in 1999, I think. 1990. I can't make out what that is. It's so small. Such small print. But in any case, they were reprinting these out of First Appearances and key moments from the Silver Age at a time when reprints were really not as widespreadly published as they are now. Now facsimiles and everything are very much commonplace, but back then not so much. So this is showcase number 4. We open it up right here. And this book has a ton of the telltale signs and the ticks and tropes of Silver Age DC books. So we have right here, and we'll talk about some of them as we go. This is a startling tale of the Flash, a man who was so fast that he not only outraced his shadow, but also broke through the sound barrier on foot. But what happens to the fastest man alive when he battles the slowest man on Earth? It is incredible. Is his incredible speed a help or hindrance? Hold on to your seat for the amazing answer as you read Mystery of the Human Thunderbolt. So we see right here Barry Allen, police scientist, and now this is a very big moment. Barry Allen is reading a copy of DC Comics Flash Comics featuring Jay Garrick. And we also see that Barry Allen he's a huge, basically, a nerd. He's drinking a carton of milk here. So Barry Allen, police scientist, reading a comic book, drinking milk. What a character Flash was, battling crime and injustice everywhere, and what a unique weapon he had against the arsenal of crime. Speed, supersonic speed, undreamed of speed. So he is, as we all know his origin, Barry Allen, police scientist, working late night in his lab. Boom, he's struck by lightning, knocks all the chemicals onto him. Lightning certainly is unpredictable. It knocked me over, but didn't scratch the cabinet. Then it smashed only certain of the chemicals and gave me a bath in them. If I don't reach that cab before it leaves, it'll be hard finding another one at this time of night. I'm too late. There it goes. So we see him start to take off after the cab, and all of a sudden his speed starts to accelerate. We see him at a diner. The waitress's tray full of food falls over. Instinctively shrinking from the falling objects, Barry is startled to see, while it looks as if they've stopped falling, it can't be hard to catch things that are just hanging in the air as if their motion has stopped. With immeasurable speed, the scientist's hands rocket at the food until, as the fleet scientist returns the retrieved foods to the flabbergasted waitress. So we're seeing Barry is discovering his powers after getting zapped by the lightning bolt. This is one of the more cooler moments of the Flash. It's happening again. I'm seeing a possible thing. A bullet hitting straight for Iris. With a desperate lunge, the scientist hurls his lovely companion out of the way a split second before. So we see Barry's super speed kicking in. He's perceiving events in a lot more slower manner than they're happening. We see his relationship with Iris. Barry is the guy who's never on time. He's always running behind. Never a sense of urgency. And then he starts to realize, he starts to put things together. The accident is what gave him his powers. He gets his inspiration from reading the Flash comic. He's got his super suit here. He stores in his ring. So now he's running on water. You know, just everything all these tricks we've seen the Flash do time and time again. This is like a scene right here, almost out of Superman. How exciting it would be to meet a man like that. But I guess it's just an idle dream. And then that sounds like something Lois would say. And then you've got Barry here. Sometimes dreams come true, Iris. I almost expect him to wink into the camera. So now you have a second story. Same thing. Flash encountering a villain. Now, one of the things you'll notice about these Silver Age books, and I've heard people comment on this before. Why are there so many exclamation points? And the reason I've heard them say that they have so many exclamation points is because, now I know this was for a fact in the Golden Age. Maybe it's just in the Golden Age, not as much as the Silver Age. But the way that the print and the type was set up, it was hard to tell when a sentence ended and another one began with just using a period. So they used a exclamation point. But a lot of these Flash stories here include science facts in there. You have Barry being a scientist using his knowledge of science to solve the problems, solve the crime, defeat the villain, etc., etc. And that's all the type of things you would see in Silver Age DC books. Silver Age DC books, they really there was a lot of interest in science at the time in the 60s when these books were coming out. You know, we had not, the United States that is, had not quite made it into space yet, or sent astronauts into space onto the moon. So general public was very much into that type of thing, and they reflected this into the comic books. You know, they would have science facts. They would be either in the text here, like, or they would be like in the editor's notes or something like that. Little basic science facts, little factoids. But so enough with all the tropes. Let's look at how Barry Allen looks in his first appearance versus how he looks now. So, costume essentially the same. Maybe a little bit changed here and there. Maybe a different lightning bolt pattern. Maybe lightning bolts not on the, or maybe not the lightning bolts on the feet, on the boots. The costume, for all intents and purposes, is the same. Barry Allen's powers of super speed still remain the same. Now, of course, with that, we still see these type of tricks all the time. Him perceiving events in because of his enhanced speed, him perceiving things basically happening at a standstill. We still see him doing that trick. One of the things that I would say that has changed a lot about Barry is he is not the nerdy science geek who's habitually late, who is kind of downplays his role to Iris. Iris upstages him all the time. Iris is basically Lois Lane, and Barry Allen is basically Clark Kent. Very much demure, stays in the background. It's not very aggressive or sticks up for himself. So we have seen that part of Barry change. Now in the comic books, Barry Allen is very much just a regular, normal individual. Him being a square police scientist, someone who's not very aggressive, who doesn't stand up for himself or whatever. That's kind of went away. But outside of that, I would say that the Barry Allen we have here is still the Barry Allen that we have today. Same costume, same powers. His attitude has been made a lot more modern, but outside of that, he still is someone who received his powers and wants to do good and help humanity. So I would say that the Flash, as we see him in showcase number 4, I would say he is very much similar, if not totally the same Flash that we have now. The powers have been expanded upon a little bit, with the introduction of the Speed Force and the tricks and things he can do with the speed. Different writers have done different things with it, so it's been expanded upon a little bit, but more, for all intents and purposes, the same character. But one of the things that I will say before I wrap this up, this suit here, I don't think you can get much better from a design standpoint. I don't think you can get a superhero costume that matches the powers more than what you can get with this red and yellow suit here. The whole look of it just conveys speed. When you look at it, you think, oh, that's something that someone fast would wear. So when they designed this character, it doesn't have the creative team on there, and I don't know who it is off the top of my head. Okay, Robert Kanigher, art by Carmine Infantino and Joe Kubert. I thought it was Carmine Infantino. For some reason, it didn't come to me. But when Carmine Infantino designed this costume, it really, it's a one-of-a-kind costume. It's absolutely perfect. It fits it. They have some comments back here in the back. This is a little article, little article by Julie Schwartz. You have another one by Robert Loren Fleming, and another one by a more modern Flash artist. I think Brian Augustine was a Flash artist. I know he worked with Mark Waid quite a bit. Oh, he says here, Brian Augustine sort of grew up and eventually came to work at DC Comics. He currently edits the Justice League books and the Flash. That's that. So we have, this is very interesting right here. This is by Julie Schwartz. The 50s were an exciting time. They call it the Silver Age of comics now, although I remember it beginning as a morning conference consisting of Mort Weisinger, Jack Schiff, Murray Bolitnikoff, however that's pronounced, myself, and one or two others working out new magazine ideas. One day, and I don't remember if it was myself or one of the others, somebody suggested it was time to revive the Flash. When editorial director Irvin Donifield asked who would be the writer, all eyes turned to me because I had edited the Flash in the 40s. I considered many things before going ahead with this project. Sales had been average for years. It had been a while since DC had hit upon a hugely successful character or series, and perhaps I felt the need for a new direction. Another motivation was the result of a study at the time which revealed that most youngsters read comics between the ages of 8 and 12, then went on to other reading. We knew there was a new audience for our stable of heroes, and I learned never to blame failure on a previous editor, because most of the time that previous editor was me. Whatever the reason, the outcome was a revamped Flash who debuted in Showcase number 4 after a hiatus of about a half dozen years. I had strived to make the new Flash as different as possible. The only thing he had in common with his predecessor was his speed. I wanted originality, and that became my watchword for everything I did by original. But that became the watchword for everything I did. Be original. I gave Barry a new origin and an interesting cast of characters. The result was a runaway hit that led to the revitalization of Green Lantern, Justice League America, Hawkman, and the Atom, who I named after my small-sized friend and editor of Amazing Stories, Ray Palmer. So that is how Julie Schwartz decided to relaunch Barry Allen in Showcase. Some really cool stuff right here, behind the scenes type stuff. But anyway, long story short, Showcase number 4, first appearance of Barry Allen Flash. They nailed it. First appearance, they got everything right about the character. You know, I would say this is a successful. This Barry Allen that you read right here, although the personality is not the same as a character that debuted in the 60s, it would basically be the same character that you would read about on the shelf right now. So that is Showcase number 4. Until next time, I will talk to you guys later. Have a good night, and bye-bye.